All right, so we've been getting a lot of questions on lending, especially on Aave and some other platforms, and questions around like, how does this actually work and is this safe and secure? So we're going to talk about health factor, we're going to talk about loan to value ratio and how to do this safely. We're also going to talk about, and I loved how this jumped up. This jumped up from 5% to 18% APY, and someone in the comments said, "Hey, like, is it worth lending out at 15%? Like, it seems kind of high, so I really want to cover that. We're also going to cover kind of the overall strategy here of how I really think through this, how I'm able to justify some of this risk, where I talk about some of the tight ranges, and just overall have a conversation and stick around to the end because I'm going to cover some other lending platforms beyond just Aave. We're going to look at the top four, and we're going to look at some other ones that I use. Now, I do have a question. If you'd like me to continue this series of like, yo, I'm going to build $1 million a year portfolio, meaning $1 million in DeFi income, then do let me know in the comments. And know this, that like you don't have to have 100K. DeFi doesn't discriminate. And I love that. It doesn't favor the rich. I don't get any special perks for having more money like CeFi would. You have to be an accredited investor to actually get into the good stuff. DeFi doesn't do that. APRs are APRs. Percentages are percentages. You can take off a zero, you can take off two zeros. We've had a lot of clients start with a grand or two and work their way up. In fact, I'll show you some case studies in a moment here. And by the way, you may have seen this pop up. This is going to fluctuate on average, just doing around $30,000 a month. And you're also going to see this fluctuate everywhere from 5 or 6% borrow to 18%, and it's dynamic. It does fluctuate. Now it just dropped down to 16.9. Again, we're going to talk about that. And before we get too far into it, I do just want to just show you. It's like no matter how much you have or how little. So Rory over here is saying, he's making 100K a month. And he says, 90 days ago, I joined Fast Track. I didn't even know what a liquidity pool was. The extent of my DeFi experience was that I had some staked Solana, and we got him up to speed very quickly. He deployed 180K. And don't let that intimidate you, but use it as inspirations. He's profited $243,000 already. He's doing over 100K a month right now. And he's got a unique strategy and it's working. And on the other side, we got some guys they got 10K in there. And over the past 6 days, they've been able to take 5,155 stables just from these last 6 days. And maybe you're starting with a grand. It all adds up. And again, DeFi doesn't care how much you have. It's not like you get a better rate. And that's what I love because it's completely equal. And it doesn't favor any kind of one person. It doesn't favor any kind of individuals. It's DeFi. You don't have to KYC. There's no special treatment, and it's why we love this space so much. If you're interested in the UIG and joining a community where we have guys who are investing a couple $1,000s all the way to a couple 100,000, all the way to a couple million, all in one community, and you get to see their portfolios in the portfolio review, go through our education, our portals, our live calls, and the UIG could be a good fit for you. That said, I want to talk about this first because some people were like 17%, that's more than like my car payment or my mortgage. The answer is yes, but obviously this is lowered a little bit, not by much, but it's lowered a little bit because I've got $77,000 over here at 2% APY. So my net APY works out to around 7.65%, so that is what I'm paying. So all things equal there, that's not bad. And you've got to remember there's this thing called arbitrage. So I know a lot of people in traditional markets, if they can borrow at 5% and they can make 12%, there's a nice little 7% of pretty much free money in between the borrowing and the earning. And they are happy with this. They are willing to take that risk. And so the way I see it is if I can borrow at 7 or 8 or even 10%, and then I can go take that stable coin and go make 396%. So we'll just go back to here. If I can borrow at, I don't care, even 10%, let's go 10%, and I can make even 300%. We're looking at 290%, and the math doesn't exactly equal that up, of course, because I'm not deploying 100% of my borrowed funds because my loan to value ratio would be whack and I'd be liquidated, but you get the point. Even if this averaged out to like, hey, I can borrow at 10% and make 100% all things considered, good deal. And here's where we have to look at risk. And again, if you have any questions or anything you want me to cover as I go through this video, please let me know in the comments below. There is a thing called a health factor, or at least that's what Aave calls it. But what they're ultimately getting at is it's their own little calculation, their own little number for like, hey, if your health factor goes below 1, you may be liquidated out of your collateral. So you lose your collateral to pay back the loan. You still have your lent assets, you just lose your collateral. So even in that instance, it's like you're not losing all your money. Just to be clear, you just have to pay back the loan that you own, and you're going to pay a bit of a fee because you're getting liquidated. That said, we want to keep a really healthy LTV. That's a loan to value ratio. I don't like to go anything above 40%. Some people say 50%. Understand at 83%, you get liquidated, meaning if the price of ETH drastically drops by probably $1,300 or something, which is a lot, you would be liquidated. I had about a 40% loan to value ratio. Now I have a 38%. Why has that changed, Lucas? Because I keep taking the yields I'm earning and putting it back into my balance here. So by the end of the week, I'd like to be at 22 ETH, and my loan to value ratio will get healthier as long as price stays the same. Price of ETH goes up, my loan to value ratio will get even healthier, might drop down to 30%. And if the price of ETH drops, my loan to value ratio will go the opposite way. So maybe 40, 42, 44%. But as long as I keep putting ETH back and I'm long-term bullish on ETH, then I'm really not concerned about it. So rule of thumb, 40%. If it starts going above 40%, then start adding ETH or start repaying some of your loan. So yes, this is a low risk move because we're in blue chips. Let me know if that makes sense. By the way, you can see now my APY dropped down to 5.71%. So all things considered, this is almost free money. So this does fluctuate. Okay, part 2 of this video, I want to fly through this. Other platforms. If I go over to DeFi Llama here and I go into categories and I go into lending, you can see that Aave by far, is the highest in total value locked. It is the most trusted platform. That's why I use Aave. That said, I've used Compound and Venus. I think this is multi-chain, so you have yields on Ethereum. I have used this for Base because I used to get really juicy APYs on Base, and yes, you can borrow against this as well. Same thing. And then we also mentioned Venus, and I used Venus on the Binance Smart Chain for a long time because I could get some ridiculous, like you were doing 22, 23% yields on your stables at times. And I'd say those would be some of the biggest. Navi for the Sui, you've seen me use this. Now I use AlphaFi only because I get 17% on my Sui due to a looping strategy. You are taking on some more risk, but I'm also stacking some AlphaFi and it's free. So what I highly recommend is you just pop on DeFi Llama and you go through some and see what do you like about it? What don't you? A lot of our clients and members are using Moonwell. Again, exact same thing. You could supply some Wrap Bitcoin or you could supply some Aerodrome. Then if you want, you could borrow against that. And as you can see, USDC is up at 19%, so a little bit higher, quite a bit higher than Aave. So again, you just have to go through platforms. I like Aave because it's the biggest by far. They've been around forever. The borrow APYs are reasonable. And this is what I find really funny too. I want to say one thing. It's like, oh my God, but I'm spending 5% or 8% or 14% for borrowing. There's no way. But when I show people you can do 18% lending, they like gawk at it, be like, well, that's nothing. It's so easy. It's so interesting how humans work. When something costs money, it's like, oh my God, that's so much. But when something makes the money, they're like, that's nothing. I would pay attention to that bias. So if you'd like me to continue the series, do let me know. I'm probably going to inject another $100,000 just from profits that I'm scraping from my bull run bag. I'm up around 169 Canadian, which of course is a little bit less in USD. Plus I took around $40,000 in profits last month combined. Probably take another 60 and inject another 100K. And most likely move some of this Bitcoin onto the blockchain and borrow against it, then I'm happy to continue this. Now, I did see some comments being like, oh, all this stuff got to this guy's head. He's yield farming with so much. That's not practical for me. I don't have that much. Just know, you can take off a zero, you can add a zero. We're working with clients in Fast Track who they're yield farming with 2, 3, 4, 5 million bucks. I'm not intimidated by that because I know the numbers don't matter. The APRs for them is no different than me, and the APRs for me are no different than you. It's mastering this skill set, and once you master the skill set, like that's the advantage, not the amount you have. You can have actually a smaller amount, but master the skill set and run circles around guys with 5 times more the amount. In fact, on that note, and I'll just wrap it up here, we do have a free course if you're not interested in the UIG, which is literally a coffee per day, highly worth it. But if you're not interested or you're still feeling us out, totally get it. We have a DeFi as a business. It's a free course, and I do post articles like how we're making 10K on my ETH, how I made $23,529 of free Sui. This article is worth checking out, and this is all in the free DeFi as a business course, so highly recommend checking it out. Just let me know if you want access to it in the comments, or check out our website, cryptolabsresearch.com. With that said, happy yield farming again. If you want me to do a video on VFAT and really breaking down VFAT, how to set up auto harvest, how you can set up auto rebalance, although I don't recommend it, and even how I think through ranges. I'm happy to do a video on that. Just let me know in the comments. And this YouTube channel is ultimately for you, so do let me know what you'd like to see in the comments below. With that said, I'm gonna get out of here. Like and subscribe if this video served you in any way. Share it with someone you know is gambling and you want them to turn into investors. Maybe you're part of a group on Telegram or Discord. Share this video with them. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what you learned in the comments below. With that said, peace.